we have a listener or a viewer that has a meet this weekend. Do you have any sort of getting a little bit nervous? It's going to be his first one.
First one?
First one.
I got plenty of advice for first-time lifter.
Yeah, let's hear it.
I got a guy competing this weekend, too, from Colorado. And it's his second meet. And he had an injury. And he wants to do it anyway. So I said, listen, you can go there. And you can be in your own place and get yourself ready. And I do that at a meet. It's all for me. I go and find a place, a stairwell, a back room, an alleyway, anything where I can just be where I need to be. And then when it's my turn, I come out and I do my thing because it's all for me. I'm the only one on the platform. And then I go back. And what everybody else is doing is their business. It's none of my business. But I told this guy, and if it's your first meet, I think you can do some of this too. I said, I don't know that you're going to have a good outcome because you were injured and you're struggling with your decisions on your opener and your. So I think if it's his first meet, I don't think his numbers make a hill of beans. Now he's going to have things he wants to accomplish, but that doesn't matter because if he does this for 4 years, what he lifts today is going to be far eclipsed. It's not even going to matter. At my first meet, I benched 400, but now I'm benching 550. And when you're benching 550, you don't think about that ever again. Now, you have to go through that to get to 550. You got to bench 350, 450. You got to go there. But they don't matter as much. What does matter is how much you learn at those first meets. Because if you don't learn them the first meet, you got to learn at the second meet. And if you don't learn at the second meet, you got to learn at the third meet. So I advise this guy and I advise my trainee that when he gets there, open up, awareness. Look at what that guy's doing. Look at what that guy's doing. Who's doing things you admire? Who looks like they're ready? Walk by people and judge how they, this nonverbal shit we've been talking about, right? Walk by people, and if they seem ready to you, just let that hit you. And if somebody doesn't seem ready, they're not quite, I don't know what I'm doing here, right? Confidence, anything that you want to emulate, pick that up from other people. There'll be all kinds of people giving you all kinds of examples. People would be doing things well, and you'll be like, yeah, I like the way he did that. That guy looks like he's all set. That guy doesn't know, what is he doing? What's that guy doing over there? What the hell is that? That doesn't look helpful. I wouldn't like to do that. And start paying attention. And then when it's time for you to warm up, then leave that go. Bring that attention down to you. Do your thing. Make whatever lifts you're going to make. It's not going to matter later on. You have to pass through it. But who cares what your first meet lift is? You want to be successful. So during the first meet, you want to follow all the commands. You want to make yourself ready when you have to be ready. You want to pay attention to your timing, when you're up, the rules, and getting through it. But then, when you're done with your thing, and I told my guy, take a breath, assess what you did well, what you did poorly, maybe write some notes down, and then get right back to paying attention and learning to be a better competitor. Some people are good competitors. Some people aren't. Some people get crushed under the pressure. They fold. They balk. They choke. And some people thrive under that pressure. They get that energy from the room. Mm-hmm. They love a meet because, man, that's great. That's the best. Mm-hmm. And I remember back in one of it wasn't my meet. It was my. I was helping somebody, and me and my buddy Jeff were there. And there's this one dude getting wrapped up, and his suit was so tight that he got up. And he had a little trickle of blood coming down because the suit was big then. But he was wrapped up, and they helped him up. And he said, I am ready. And he said it like that. It was just like, wow, that dude is ready, right? Yeah. I don't even know how he did. But I liked that, and I adopted that. And I don't do that. I don't make those sounds or anything, but I adopted that attitude of knowing when I am ready to do this. And I learned that early on. I liked that about that dude. I saw that at a meet, and I kept it. I tucked that one away. That was a winner, right? And I've seen people do some stupid things at meets, and I tucked those away too. Yeah. Because I'm not doing that. That's retarded, right? That guy's wasting what he has. that guy's banging his head against a wall and then going to go try to lift. Where's that energy going? Into the wall. That energy in the wall isn't going to help push that bar up. I'm going to keep all that energy in, and then I'm going to let it go on the bar. And I learned that. And so I told my athlete, and I think this guy, if it's his first meet, you can still do the things you want to do, but that's not the important thing. The goal for this meet should be to become a better competitor for the many meets you may do later. Take as much information of good, bad, mediocre that other people will present to you. If you're in your own world, you're going to do your own thing and you're going to go home. And there's all this opportunity to become a better competitor.
One thing that I like about what you said that just kind of hit me is I agree 100%, probably more. If you can agree more than 100%, I agree more than 100%. Because people do not train in groups today like they did in many years past. So I had the opportunity to learn from other lifters who were better than I in the gym.
That's always good.
On what they did between sets, what they did between sets on training days, non-training days, what they did on sets when the meet got closer, when the meet wasn't closer, how the dialogue changed from this time to this time, and all that you kind of just learn. And now all you see is a rep on Instagram. You don't see how the lifter approached it.
No,
you don't see. The only place a lot of these people are going to see that now is at a meet. Now that doesn't teach them everything that I'm saying that you learn from this, from the training point, but it teaches them way more because they don't have those people around them while they're training to be able to see exactly how. And there's a lot that goes unspoken on how a lifter approaches a bar. And like what you're talking about, the I am ready, maybe that works for that person or you or somebody else. Maybe it doesn't work for somebody else, but you need to be exposed to several different types of people. You know, I've known people like that. I've known other people that you would never even know. They were getting ready to live, joking around. They go out, Kenny Patterson's one, they go up and then boom, that last second flicks, goes.
I like that Stipe Miocic when he walks in the ring. You ever see that dude? When he goes to the ring? Looks like he's going to have a lunch. Going to do his job. He's just, now I don't know what's going on inside him, but it looks to me like that dude is just calm as a cucumber, centered, focused, ready, but not overly stimulated. Saving it. He looks, and I've seen other guys do that. Who's another guy that is a good emulator of, and I tried to be that way. I tried to just be calm when I had to be calm, and then at the moment of truth, that's when the beast comes out. That's when you need it. I don't need it after the lift.
Now it should be
I don't
said,
need that. You can celebrate, but
you just made me think of, I
keep that. I try to keep that for the next lift.
What they see and what they observe in a meet isn't how the training's supposed to be. So don't misunderstand what I'm saying.
No, but we're talking. I'm advising that they try to become a better competitor.
Yes, exactly.
And so you pick up competitive information at a meet, and that people don't act the same at a meet that they do in training. And so if you want to be a good competitor, I use this phrase a lot, you have to be at your best when the best is needed. That's when you need it, right? I don't want to be a guy that does my best lifts in the gym. I want to do all my best lifts when they count. Now, if you do your best lift in the gym, that doesn't mean you didn't lift it. Congratulations, you lifted that. But how many times, I might have said this again, these things repeat in my mind a lot. How many times I've been to a meet where a guy says, hey, congratulations, JM, but I lifted more than you 2 weeks ago. And I say, well, hey, man, if we had this meet 2 weeks ago, you would have won, huh? You'd have this, and I'd have that, huh? So you have to be, well, if you want to compete, and you want to pay your money, and you want to be judged, if you don't just want to lift 400 or 500 or 600 pounds, you can do that in the gym. You don't need to go to a meet to prove that to yourself. But if you are going to compete, then there's a difference between when people are watching and when they're not. And if you ever had to read to somebody in a group of people, you can read fine to yourself. You stand in front of a room and read to the room, and it's a different experience. And it's a different experience to lift in a competition as it is. And so there's a competitive, I practice being a good competitor. So I asked my guy, when's the weigh-in? He's like, Friday. And I'm like, who's driving you? He's like, I'm driving myself. I'm like, wrong. You're not driving yourself. You're dehydrated. You're down 10 pounds. You're starving. You might run into traffic. Why give yourself more stress? Why don't you get somebody to drive you? Why wouldn't you do that? And he will,
Mm-hmm.
but he didn't think of it, right? He's not a good competitor. He's only had one meet. So he was going to drive himself to the weigh-in in a completely dehydrated and starving state and irritated and stressed because of the meet, and add more stress by driving himself. And then they were going to come and be there. His people were going to be there for the meet on Saturday. But why didn't you get one person to drive you there when you're exhausted and tired?
Yeah.
Why add more stress? So that's something that makes people a better competitor. And if he misses his lift, his the thing he wants to accomplish by that much, he has to think, well, maybe if I had somebody drive me, I wouldn't have missed it. I don't have to think that because I get somebody to drive me.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not that if I miss, right? And then we talk about things that we spent the whole time talking about what he should be looking for at a meet to take back with him to become a better competitor, and what things that he might be able to learn as a competitor. And those things you only got to learn once, Dave.
Mm-hmm.
You got to practice your form a lot, and you got to practice it with heavy, and that has to change. But if you learn something about being a good competitor, showing up on time, and I said, what time are you driving there? He's like, I'm driving 2 hours, and I'm like, no, you can't leave. You got to give yourself another hour now.
Mm-hmm.
Show up at 8 o'clock for the 9 o'clock weigh-in. Because what if you get on the road and you get a flat tire? Then you got to change it, and you're going to be at, instead of being at 9 o'clock weighing in, you're going to be at 10 o'clock because you're an hour late. But if you're there an hour early, what that means is you're going to sit in your car where you're supposed to be for 60 minutes. What you're going to do at home is you're going to sit at your house for another 60 minutes until it's time for you to leave. Why not spend that 60 minutes that you're doing nothing, waiting for it's time to leave and drive 2 hours? Why not put that weight at the end of the 2 hours after you're already there and nothing bad happened? And, I traveled a lot, so, flights get canceled, Dave.
Mm-hmm.
You get delayed, and then everything's screwed up if you have to weigh in at a certain time. And so that's being a good competitor. And controlling the things that you can and not worrying about the things you can't, right? You learn those things, right? Or you don't.
Then you do.
And they're your shitty competitor, right? Yeah, you're always the guy that tells me how you did well, a week ago or 3 weeks ago or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think there's a lot that can be learned in the beginning. Now, I'm absolutely all for leaving that behind and you mind your own business and you get your job done. And then the whole meet's for you and everybody shows up. And then when it's your turn, you're the only person on a platform. You're the only person in the world. Those weights are all yours. You own them for that.
But you're able to do that only after you've done those other things.
Yeah, you don't have to you don't have to learn those things once.
Yes, because it's a process of elimination.
Yeah, don't do the dumb things.
Yeah.
Now you can do all the dumb things yourself and learn or not learn, or you can watch somebody else do it and learn from
faster.
that. So if I go into a room, Dave, and I put my hand on a hot stove, and you come into the room, what are you gonna do?
I'm not putting my hand on that.
Well, no, you shouldn't, right? But some people are actually like that. I've heard somebody describe themselves as, I got to be the one to put my hand on the hot stove. They said that. I got to learn experientially. I can't learn from. I'm like, okay, tough life, man.
I might get close enough to
How hot
it
is
to
that?
feel the heat.
How hot is that?
Right?
Is that really that hot?
Because
I'm stay away from
it can be bullshit, So
right, sure. Yeah.
So
yeah.
I don't want to close my worldview, right?
Oh,
Because it could be completely bullshit.
Right, but
I'm not going to tell you. You can tell, right?
Yeah. Well, my point is this: you can learn from watching the best in the world, and you can be exposed, and you can pick up good things, and you can also learn from people that do shitty form.
Oh yes.
You can also learn from people that screw up. You can also learn from people that crash and burn, and those lessons are just as important. We don't have to just learn from all the best people. We can learn from some of the worst people.
Mm-hmm.
And I do this in the gym when I'm training a client and we're doing back or something. Somebody's squatting and they're doing something little shady, I'll tell them, hey, look at that person squatting. What are they doing wrong? What do you think? What do you see? And they should be able to tell me what they're doing wrong. And we can learn from that, and I can reinforce good technique by showing them and having them recognize bad technique.
People need to also be aware that a lot of the best people that you're talking about, the best competitors, got there because they crashed and burned a lot.
They learned.
So while you're watching,
Sure.
the other
error.
people that crash and burn, don't actually think that that's all bad, because you need to learn from it.
I babysit a 9-year-old girl, and I tell her that it's not a mistake if you learn from it and don't do it again. It's the tuition. It's your education. Once. If you do it again, it's a mistake. If you do it once and you never do it again, that's just what you have to pay to learn that. And I'm a big believer in trial and error, and there's a lot of error in trial and error.
There's way more.
Right, way more. That's right.
Way more.
There's more error than there's
There's
success.
more adversity in prosperity than prosperity is in prosperity.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that.
Can't have one without the
No,
other.
I like it. I like what you said. I had to think about it for a second. So, a guy asked about what any advice for our first meet, and so I want to de-emphasize the numbers and super-emphasize the goal of coming away with stuff that stays with you, because your numbers that you make in your first meet are not going to stay with you. They're not going to matter. But lessons you learn about competing and timing and preparation, they stay with you the whole career. And you build on them. So that's my advice.